Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Actors Room. I'm Amy Swartz, Preservation and Programs Director at Historic St. John's Church. And today I am interviewing Marc Holma. Hi, Marc.
Hello, everybody.
How you doing?
Good. I hope you're well.
Good. Yes, everyone's good over here. And thank
Good.
you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate your time.
Happy to do it.
I'm excited to learn a little bit about your history with St. John's. So first, tell us how long you have been acting with us on the cast.
It's been since November of 2012. So this, I guess, is my 8th year, going to my 8th year.
And how did you first get involved?
Well, I got involved, I guess, to go back to the origin. I had seen the show, being a Richmonder, probably 6 times, and loved it and thought it was something that I'd be maybe interested in doing at some point.
Right.
I had that in the back of my mind. And then when Sarah Whiting became the executive director, I knew her in her previous life in the preservation field with Preservation Virginia.
Right.
So I called her up and said, "Hey, are you involved at all with the reenactments?" And she said, "I will set you up with the person who is." So I talked to who at the time was Kevin Grants and said I was interested and asked if I could be a part of it. He said, sure. He gave me a script on Saturday and my first show was on a Tuesday.
So oh my gosh.
Very quick.
Wow.
Yes. There's no rehearsals whatsoever. Your first show is your one and only rehearsal.
That's right. Right. And tell me about your other life. What do you do professionally?
Well, professionally, I work for the Commonwealth of Virginia. I am, my job title is architectural historian. I work for the Department of Historic Resources. Unlike many of the cast members, I do not have a background in acting, as may be painfully apparent to people who actually come to watch the shows. But my interest in it is kind of from the other angle, is the history behind it, and always been had a keen interest in history, American history. So that's kind of where I'm coming from it and that. But I've been blessed enough to actually get my undergraduate degree in history and a master's degree in historic preservation, and I'm actually using my history degrees as a historian. So that's, I think, fairly.
Yes. And me too. So yeah,
excellent.
We're comrades that way.
Yes.
And I'm sure that people could guess by looking at you what role you play, but tell us all the roles that you play.
Well, despite popular belief within the cast members, I can play 4 roles and have played 4 roles. Thomas Nelson Jr., Benjamin Harrison, Richard Henry Lee, and of course, Thomas Jefferson.
Yes, yes.
Which I am
fitting, so fitting.
Yes.
Can you recall, and by the way, everyone who's watching, Marc and nor any of the actors know my questions, so I might be catching you all off.
So I'm sitting here in abject terror at the next question.
No. I'm not gonna do anything that would worry or scare you. But
it's not a 60 minutes gotcha type of thing.
No.
Okay.
Nope. Good. But keeping that in mind, do you have any bloopers that you can recall that have been memorable? You might not.
Oh, geez. Everyone has bloopers.
Or anyone else in the cast.
Oh, I'm not going to out anybody else in the cast. No. Because anything I could describe that someone else has done, I've done the same thing and probably even worse. I guess one of probably my biggest blooper, which might be understandable, is my first performance.
Sure.
Because as I said, it was, here's the script, and 3 days later I was doing it without any rehearsals. And not being a trained actor, the first thing that struck me sitting there in my pew waiting for my speech was that this is going really fast. This is going to get to me really quick, because if you've seen the show, Jefferson speaks towards the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I speak after Harrison. So Harrison starts to speak and I am sweating. I'm thinking, I cannot remember what I'm supposed to say, who I'm supposed to be. Harrison's done, he sits down. I know enough to raise my hand and be recognized by the president, which
right.
I do when he does. I stand up, I say something, I have no idea what I said. I'm sure it was the right words, but I'm sure it wasn't in the right order.
Right.
It wasn't a complete speech. I did it, decided to cut my losses, sat down, and it went on.
Right.
And so I always remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there's others.
Mm-hmm.
One early on, and this is not one of my bloopers, but I can tell it because the person isn't in the cast anymore, but he's a great guy.
Okay.
When I first started, there were two of us who were really kind of went back and forth playing Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
And in this particular performance, I was Jefferson and he was another role. I believe he was Nelson. So the bell rings, we all come to take our seats, and I sit down and he comes to the pew and stands there.
Oh.
Wondering why I'm in his seat, and
right.
me looking up at him wondering why he wants my seat. So
right.
It took a second or two, but he realized, oh, I'm Nelson today. So
right.
we played it off. We, greeted each other, and then Mr. Nelson went to his seat. But
right.
for a second, there was going to be two Jeffersons, and one of them sitting on the other one's lap.
Right. Well, let me ask you, is there anything special that you like or dislike about your costume? Is it besides being wool in the summertime?
Being wool and hot in the summer?
Yes,
right. As you are aware, and most people who are listening to this are probably aware that Virginia's summers are very hot and humid.
Right.
And wool is not the material of choice to be wearing.
Right.
No, other than that, which I can put up with. Other than that, I have no qualms about the costume at all.
That's great.
As you know, one of our cast members, Charles Wisner, is not only a gifted actor, he's also a gifted tailor, and has made many of our costumes, one of which is the one that I wear. I like it quite a bit because it was particularly fitted to me at the time when we were going through getting the new costumes. I was a regular cast member and established. I had it actually fitted for me, so it's great. The one that I started out wearing, which is no longer in the rotation, thank goodness, because it was falling apart, it was just so old and threadbare and actually ripped. Right. That my breeches were being held up by safety pins.
Oh my gosh.
And actually that is a blooper, because at one point I had to, I was Nelson at the time. I had to stand up to give my speech, and my safety pin.
Oh my gosh. And
luckily I caught my breeches before they hit the floor.
Oh jeez.
So that was a near blooper, but
yes.
No,
I'm glad that didn't.
Yeah.
That would not have been
it would not have been. But I don't know.
Well, let me ask you.
Donations that day.
Right. Let me ask you this. Since kids, are such a big part of our audience, is there any couple, you can answer this a couple different ways, but either do you have a special feeling with working, for the kids? Because I know that so many children absolutely love the show. And when you play Jefferson, you were definitely one of their favorites, obviously. And also, do you have any memorable interactions with kids, any experiences that they've, questions that they've had, or?
Well, I mean, as you said, I mean, playing for the student groups that we get are very special because they're the ones who I would say that the performance are most geared toward because it is educational, but it
Mhm.
is educational in a very specific and special way in that it's interactive to a great extent. So the students, many of the student groups get quite animated during the shows.
Mhm.
And the thing that always tickles me the most and tickles the cast the most, and we love it, especially whoever's playing Henry on the time,
Mhm.
is often the kids are very well prepared. So they've heard Henry's speech in class.
Right.
So when Henry gets towards the end of the speech, the kids start to recite it with him.
Right.
And that's very special.
Mhm.
And by the time he gets to Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death, they are into it. Henry's into it. The
Right.
cast members are into it. So that's always special. As far as questions I get,
Mhm.
always the number one question is that your real hair?
Bah. Really, you?
Yes, yes. They always
That's
ask, is that your
funny.
real hair? And
Yeah.
it is. I mean, Jefferson is
Yeah.
probably the most famous redhead in history. And
That's right.
being a ginger myself, I thought it's about time it starts paying off for me. So
Absolutely.
for all those kids in elementary school who kidded me about being a carrot top, this is
Right.
my revenge.
There you go. I am Jefferson.
I am
That's
Jefferson.
awesome.
I started growing it out maybe 4 years ago,
Mhm.
and it, I'm
Yep.
going to keep it as long as it stays there. It's kind of moving towards the back a little bit. So,
Well, I love it.
well, thank you.
It's always good to see you from the front and the back.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, so much for your time. Really
Oh,
appreciate
you're
it.
welcome.
It has been great to talk to you, and we look forward to being together at St. John's Church again soon.
Yes, and I look forward to that, and I look forward to everybody having a chance to come and see us when they can.
Absolutely.
I know the other cast members like myself are missing it, and
Mm-hmm. We all are. We
know.
are a family, and we want to be together again, and we will be soon. So
and I can get rid of my plague beard.
there you go. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you very much, Amy, and goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.